The United States of America, known as land of the free, home of the brave, America has come to symbolize freedom throughout the world. People from all walks of life have called America their home. America has welcomed them with open arms. Indeed, the famed Statue of Liberty is the embodiment of the fulfillment of this dream. In New York's public education system alone, its student body represents 145 countries of the world. The United States is also a very spiritual country, allowing freedom of worship to its citizens. Indeed, religion has traditionally played a large role in American society. Many of the original European colonists came to America for religious reasons. Religion still has a major influence on American politics and culture, even more so than in other industrialized nations. We now invite you to listen to the following discussion with Supreme Master Chinghai, entitled Use the Power of Intelligence Carefully, spoken to our association members at the Los Angeles Center in California, USA, on March 14, 1996.
I remember when I first came to California, not really first, but second time, something like that. And then it hasn't been raining for 6 years or something, huh? Do you remember that? Of course you do. Californian people. And then many cattle dies, huh? Die, many trees, many orange garden gone, huh? Dry up. And no grass for the animals and no water for men, thing like that, huh? Remember? And then I remember somebody, I don't know why, he come and asked me to make rain. I said, what, do I look like a rainy person? He said, no, I believe you. I believe you immediately. You must make rain. You can do it. You could. Luckily, God has mercy on me and he rained. And make a lot of rain that time, huh? And then it continue now. Since then, your country has become better, huh? Your county, what? Your state, huh? California has never been short of water since then. The California okay now, huh? Yeah, I feel good here now because all the green, lush trees and grasses make your state look so beautiful now. It's so much different from when I first came here before. I don't know where I have been. It looked like in Sahara or something like that. when I was the first time come here, I said, why? Everybody said California beautiful. Everybody wanted to come here. Huh? And they say California is good weather and the best in America and all that. And when I came here, I feel, woo, so dry, yeah? And so brown. That's what I thought at that time. But now it's beautiful. So beautiful, huh? The grass is even so green, and a different green than ordinary grass. Maybe the rain is different. Maybe it is because a lot of you practice here in California now, and makes the weather change. Yeah, we can change many things with our spiritual power. Everybody knows that, huh? Even the Lama and all that, they don't have to practice very highly, but they can change the weather. And we don't have to do that. We just practice and everything changes according to what we want. Maybe that's the best, huh? And I think since we begin to practice the Kuan Yin method here in California, I think California has the most disciples, huh? Yeah, because I came here more often. And the weather since then has become very good, huh? It may be coincidence, but it's a nice coincidence, huh? So actually, I think it's good, huh? I think everywhere we change. If we practice the Kuan Yin method, it will change. I'm sure. There was a story about a master that he went to different countries to give lecture. And one of the disciples who has the heavenly eye opened, and then he traced the master's tour on the map. And then he know where he is going and things like that. And after he checked with the local initiates, yeah, where the master has been. So wherever he went, there is raining. Yes. Now, it was a very dry country. Like India, sometimes also don't have enough water. But when the master is moving anywhere, then there is raining come. Just exactly like that. Just like he used the rain to mop his road. Yes. And it was beautiful. And he saw that. And then he checked it up with the local fellow practitioners, and it was exactly like that, like what he saw. Really, the Guanyin method is fantastic. That we cannot describe all the benefit that we will derive from this supreme method. Such a beautiful method, and so supreme and so almighty power, that people just ignore it and live in misery, every day begging for a little merit from God or whatever, and they don't even know that they have everything inside. All right, I'm telling you a story about very nice things that happened before, about a few thousand years ago. Just to let you know, or let us know that in the old time, people also have very high civilization, not just now. And then sometimes, according to the research or according to the history, our previous ancient civilization has been destroyed somehow by war, perhaps star wars, or perhaps planetary war between each other, or civil war, brotherhood here, because every civilization will be developed until a peak, until a very, very high peak. And then if the people in that society do not take care to preserve their inner power to control themselves and to have a wiser use of their scientific knowledge, then it will be trouble. One will compete with another to seize the newest discovery to become a master of the other race on the other side of the continent or the other planet. And that's why war will begin. And then when war finished, everything finished too. But this is the trouble with mankind. We never learn. As you see around us right now, many countries still don't learn the lessons. Every time we go to war, our country became bankrupt. We'll be in poverty for a long, long time. Everybody knows that. All leaders of every country knows that. But they just go for war rather than to have peace for any reason. Sometimes they just want to intimidate other people, but what if the plan goes wrong? Yeah, and then both sides will misunderstand each other, and small things lead to bigger things, and then they will be explored, and then war will start all over again, and then our civilization might be gone, just like the one that we have been discovered recently from Atlantic or from the ancient Atlantis. Yes, or the ancient Aryan people, something like that. And now we think, oh yes, how come before they were so civilized? It must have been some time. Maybe before they were even more civilized than us. Something even in the Bible, there's some record in there, like the wife of Lot, when she turned around to look, she turned into the pillar of salt. It just kind of looked like the effect of a atom bomb or something like that. It's a highly chemical weapon, that can turn people into chemicalized, just burn them into ashes, and it looked like salt over there. So there has been a lot of war before too, and of course there has been a lot of discovery and invention, maybe far superior to what we have nowadays. So there's nothing for us to be proud of what we have right now, or to rely definitely on this kind of transient mean of scientific apparatus. But we always do that. Every time we discover something, we think we are great. And then we destroy everything. And we start from ABC again. Alright, so I read you a story, just maybe to illustrate this. This story happened in China. The Chinese people are the first inventors of many kinds of our modern time equipment. Of course, at that time, perhaps it was a little bit more crude, in a very elementary form. But then later they developed more and more, or maybe the European or American people have learned from the idea and then make it even more civilized and more refined. For example, the Chinese people invented crackers, and they played for New Year, just to make fun and to have fun and to scare the ghosts away, or to celebrate a very noisy and boisterous occasion, when they're married or something like that. But mind you, the Chinese, they use crackers for anything. Somebody die, they burn crackers. Somebody married, they burn crackers. When they feel lousy, they burn crackers. When they feel happy, they also burn crackers. They burn firecrackers. And when they celebrate birthday, they also make firecrackers. And when they celebrate Chinghai Day, they also burn firecrackers. Okay. They burn our ears too with all kind of noises. They love it and get used to it by now, with all the drums and the gongs and the firecrackers and things like that. And for example, these firecrackers have been invented by the Chinese many thousand years ago, and they use it for fun. And here came the European, and they use it to kill. And that's how the gun has been invented. And then the first guns have been used with the Chinese. I remember, before the Chinese don't have gun. And the first time they discovered the firecrackers powder, explosive powder from the Chinese, then they brought it and then they refined it, and they made it become guns or the cannons, thing like that. And then they sell it back to the Chinese. At that time, the first king who possessed the cannons or those explosive substance became greater conqueror of the China at that time. You remember, huh? Okay, so for example, so like that. The inventions sometimes are harmless, for children, and then the other people, they use it for a more murderous way. Ice cream are also invented by the Chinese. Many other things. That's why before, when the European people first visited China, they were also very, very astounded, very surprised. There's such a beautiful, fairy tale-like kingdom exists. Yes. And as every other thing, beauty sometimes attracts the beast and make a lot of trouble. If you have a lot of things, like you have beauty, talents, money and all that, then maybe you attract the envies of other people. And sometimes it is the source of your misery, of your misfortune. And should I tell you to live in poverty or just to have a simple life or don't care about money or things like that, then the life also not very comfortable for you, especially in America, right? You can't walk on foot like in Himalaya. You'll be starving because the supermarket at least 3 hours away by car. That's why when I go to America, I dare go anywhere shopping, because every time I say I want to go to buy something, they say, oh, this is about 3 hours from here, or maybe 2.5 hours. I say, can it be faster? They say, well, then I can make it in 2 hours, 25 minutes. And as I forget it, oh, I don't like traveling. Now I love another kind of travel. I travel inside, yes, and that's I find more comfortable. No smoking and no no small window and no stuffy air and no check-in, check-out at the airport. But never mind, never mind. I will do anything if it benefits people and if I see fit. It's just that after a long period of time, you find it's very difficult to tell yourself, to come out, to teach people. You understand what I mean? It becomes too ordinary a life. It becomes a part of you that you don't feel any great deal to be enlightened. And you don't feel that you are the teacher of anybody. And then it's very difficult to convince yourself, to push yourself out and spend all energy and time just to go and talk to people and say, hey, you need enlightenment. You know what I mean? Can you understand my feeling? Yes. So it becomes like an effort. Because you just begin to settle down inside and you become very ordinary again. And it's very difficult for you to imagine yourself to be a teacher of any kind or have anything to offer. But meanwhile, you still know, because people keep reminding you of their request for enlightenment. So then now and again you say to yourself, oh, wow, it seems like people still need it. Somehow like a dream. Yeah. And then you continue to do your job. All right. There was a king in China. I don't know how many thousand years ago. Let's see. So this king, his name was Zhou Mu Wang. Zhou is just the name of the dynasty. Mu Wang is his title, his name. Wang is king. Mu is perhaps his name. Just like if you are Smith and then you become Smith King, King Smith, or something like that. Now this king, he was at the time of the warring period in China. Zhou Mu Wang was a king in China about 2,500 years ago, during the warring period. And one time he went to hunting. Went hunting. Most of the king, they are bored. They have nothing to do, so they go and kill animal. Terrible, huh? If they cannot kill human, then they go kill animal. I think they're training themselves always in the art of war. That is the mistake from beginning. So now this king was no exception. He went hunting somewhere in the mountain. There was a mountain called Yanshan. And then he went back to his palace. On the way home, there was an offering for the king. The offering is not in a material gift, but it was in form of a person. Somebody gave him a very, very well-skilled artisan. And then Mu Wang, the king, asked the artisan to come to him and ask him, what kind of talent do you have? Yan Sư, you know, the man who's supposed to be the gift for the king, answer him, say, Your Majesty, tell me to do anything, then I will try. Whatever Your Majesty want to tell me to do, I will try that. But I have already invented a machine. This is a robot. Yes. I would like to give it to Your Majesty to inspect, if you please. So the king, Mu Wang, said to him, Of course. Tomorrow you bring it here to me and I have a look. And then of course next day the person brought the machine to the king. And the king was very surprised and asked the man, the artisan, said, who was following you behind there? And Yan Sư, the man, said, no, that is the machine person that I have invented. See that? So good that the king was fooled and thinking that it was another person who following him. Even today, Robert don't look like that. Not yet, huh? Not that yet. Not when we see the third encounter of the third kind or something like that. It looks like our Hoover machine in the dining room, but it doesn't look like a person that can fool us, right? Okay, but this person, 2,500 years ago, or more or less, he already invented such a person. Of course, in other planets, there are inventions like this, and it's very common. I heard. There's no guarantee. And so this person was so much like a human being that the king was so shocked. And then he kept looking at the robot. And he saw that this person walk, run, above his head, yes, to the king, you know, like when we go to see the king or the high personage, we bow to them, pay respect to them. The robots do exactly like everyone else do. Just exactly like a human being. And then when the artisan, you know, the inventor, we call him now a scientist better, huh? You like him better, huh? Then this the one who invented the machine just touched something at the chin of the robot. Then the robot began to sing, and it was very beautiful, precise voice. And then when the inventor raised the robot's hand, and then he began to dance, all kind of very sophisticated and complicated movement of a great skillful dancer. And then not only that, he can do 10,001 all the kind of entertainment activities exactly like a very skillful, talented, trained person. And whatever you want him to do, the robot can. And with such a skill and precision that the king was very shocked and started to believe that he's a real one, a real person. And then one of his very beloved concubine also was beside him and watching with him, and all the others beautiful maids in the palace were also surrounding the robot, and they're all watching in amazement. And then after the robot finished all his entertainment program, he even winked, and you know, like he make a sign, you know, kind of flirtatious side with the beloved concubine of the king. And now then, the problem began. Oh, the king was very angry. Oh, he was so real. You know what I mean? Because so real that the king was angry. It's like a boy, you know, really wink at a beautiful woman with motive. Yeah. So the king became racked with anger, and then he you know, he was very, very jealous, and then he wanted to kill both of them. Yansi, you know, the man who invented, as well as the robot, he believed both of them are real. And then Yansi, the inventor, was terrified. He immediately knelt down and said, please, no, it's a mistake. It's not real. Let me prove it first, you know. And then he took out some of the screw, and then immediately he dropped dead. The robot cannot move anymore. And then he slowly took out his arm and his legs and his stomach and his ear and everything, and showed the king inside his own machine. He's no real person. And then the king also saw inside, you know, there are also painted stuff, you know, wood or metal or anything like that, heart and liver, spleen, everything is done just machinery. And then so But it's so exactly like the person that even underneath of the skin of the robot, there are arteries and veins, like the the circulation system of a human body. So, and then and the inventor took everything out, and then the inventor also took out the teeth and all this for him to look at, the ears and everything, for him to examine the eyes and all that. And then the king was kind of convinced then. Then he told the inventor to take out the heart of the robot, see what happened. And then the robot just shut up. He cannot speak anymore. And tell the inventor to take out the liver of the robot. Then he cannot see. The robot cannot wink, cannot see anymore. Take out of his kidney, and the robot cannot walk anymore. And then the king sighed in relief that after all it was truly just a robot. And his anger subsided, his jealousy disappeared, and he forgave both of them. But then he shook his head in amazement and wonder, thinking, how can you try to replace God? How can you do the work of the Creator? Are you in competition with Him? Maybe. But then, of course, the inventor cannot explain, cannot say anything. Perhaps he was a great scientist. And now, so after that, the king told his subordinate, bring a truck, and then brought the robot and the inventor back to where they belong. Before, not only this, the Chinese has invented a machine that can go to the cloud. It must have been aeroplane. They call it cloud elevator. Yeah, because they would use it to go up to the cloud. But it must have been the most primitive form of airplane. Huh? So, and it was fantastic already at that time. Oh, another different time, huh? Different person, different places. And another person, they invented also the flying bird machine. That's his airplane too, perhaps. Yes. And both of them have been thinking that their invention is already top class. But nobody can even imagine that a person could invent just a real robot, just look like a human being like this. So what I mean here is the commentator means that at that time the robot is even better than those invention of before, the flying machine and the cloud elevator, thing like that. Maybe they had UFO before, huh? And aeroplane, huh? Looked like it, and robot even. But after these two persons who invented the flying machine bird and the cloud elevator heard of this person robot, they begin to shut up. That they are not boast about their invention anymore. So it must have been in the same warring period. Besides, I heard at that time, what I read in the book Chinese history, during this warring period, many funny, strange story happened. Many strange personages appear, you know. It seemed like they appear from another planet, like what we call the alien, from extraterrestrial, thing like that. Because they have a lot of weapons similar to what we heard nowadays that the alien use, like laser beam, laser weapons, something like that, froze people and just make people who was paralyzed at the spot and things like that, or destroy everything. And at that time, during the warring period of China, they call these people magicians. Yeah, what they do is just like magic. They can create all kind of illusionary object in the air that destroy the enemy with no other, no remedy for it, thing like that. And it looks like at that time we already have Star Wars of some kind. So it looked like, after all, the Star Wars might not have been at all fiction. It might have been truth, or maybe at least contain some part of the truth in it. Otherwise, how can the people of the 3,000 years ago in a remote area like China, at that time China, America and Europe don't really have contact, so how can they speak about the same thing? Now that we know. So during that time they don't use ordinary weapons, and the way they describe it, just like gun, or laser weapons, and very, very extremely sophisticated and powerful killing method. And so at that time the Chinese described them as magicians, great magicians, came from high above, from heaven, and things like that. Is that not so? You remember? Yes, yes. So it must have been true somehow. And so you see, this is described in the Chinese history. It is not a fiction. So 3,000 years ago, we already have what we have today, and it might have been much even better. Lately, I read some newspapers. They say that they have already discovered the evidence of the atom bomb 3,000 years ago. Yes, the archaeologists, they have dig out a site that's been buried under the earth, which has been destroyed by atom bomb, and the evidence left, the radioactive element still left behind there. They have tested, and they say it must have been a bomb. So maybe the story in the Bible about Lot's wife that coincided with this A-bomb of the 3,000 years history. So our planet, in one time or another, must have been destroyed by ourselves or by the war with other planets due to some political reason, a different system of government. So perhaps there's nothing new under the sun. So perhaps we should not be proud at all of any physical invention that we happen to possess at the moment, or we happen to know of. Our ancestors already know about it, and much better, much more sophisticated than ourselves now. But what did they do? What did they use for? Just to kill, destroy themselves, perhaps by mistake, perhaps by uncontrollable event of the war. So you see, nothing good. The invention of killing method or apparatus is never of any use for mankind. Still we don't learn. Still we are warring with each other at this time now. All the head of state in the world should read Warring Period of China or Three Kingdoms. Maybe they learn something. When I read the Warring Period books, there are many fantastic things, which is just like what we have nowadays. For example, in the book Warring Period, you perhaps already read yourself. It describes something like those who are highly qualified or highly wise person who involved in the Warring Period at that time, who used magic to destroy each other. They have a method of receiving the news. For example, the person just meditate there or sit in his house or in his mansion or in his cave, and suddenly he hears a strange wind go past by him, and then he let the wind just pass first, the beginning of the wind pass, the wind had passed, and then he catch the wind and listen to the news. What could that be? You read the story, if you read them, if you don't, you better read them. It's a fantastic book. It's one of the 6 Chinese kind of treasury literature. And I read them when I was very young. And even as a young age, at 6, 7, it's already fascinating to me. I read it day and night until my father chased me out. But then I hide somewhere and continue. Or wait until he's gone. Because it was so fascinating. I did not know it was the Chinese famous book or literature. I just love it. And I read almost all of the Chinese classic. I think all of them. whatever Chinese classic, very famous. I read them all when I was too young. By the age of 7, I finished all the Chinese kingdom. Conquered them all. So you see, history repeats itself again and again. We always say that, but we don't know, and we don't try to control the history. And I hope one day we all be awakened to the truth. Even if we don't have to practice Guanyin method or anything, we should live at peace with each other. Everybody say that peace, peace, peace. Every government just screaming on top of their voice that we are for freedom, democracy, for the people, and prosperity, liberty, brotherhood, equality, everything. But then look at what they do to their country and their people. Or perhaps they're too fanatic in their mind that they can't even see their own mistakes. Perhaps they're born with such a quality that is natural to them. Just like it's natural for the fish to swim in the sea, or it's natural for the bird to fly in the sky. Some people are born killer, perhaps, born bad, born negative, born master of murder and mass murder. If you kill a person here, you're in trouble. But in the war, they direct guns at thousands and millions of innocent people, children, and nobody ever persecute anybody. And all this separation of families and friends, and all the damage of property and youth intelligence and humans' life and treasure, nobody say anything. And all the people's sorrow and suffering, nobody care. They say they care, but who cares? If they do care, they would have taken care of more of the refugees in the world instead of driving them home mercilessly with all means. For example, like that, If they do care, they would stop the war, never start it again. Luckily nowadays we don't have that many dictative kings. Before, a king means God. Nobody can oppose him. Just your mouth has not closed, your head is already gone. Right? You can't even say anything. You can't even look directly at him. Every time the kings rode right outside somewhere, you must kneel on the floor with your head down in the dirt. If you look up, your head's gone. Yeah, before you look at his face, your head is already somewhere. Yeah. It's so strict, no? You know that, Everywhere. And doesn't matter how many people suffer from hunger or starvation or any kind of discomfort, cold and heat or disaster, the king is always well off. Yeah, they never are in trouble. So that's why they don't know what suffering is. You know the famous story about Marie Antoinette? She was born with silver spoon, a golden spoon. And when she was told that the people of France are very hungry, have no bread anymore, that means they're hungry, she said, no bread, then eat cakes. If you don't have bread, how can you have cakes? But she doesn't know such a situation. She doesn't know that bread means everything to the ordinary citizens. Bread means milk, means blood. Just like the Chinese, they say, we don't have rice anymore. That means we're hungry now. We don't have food. Rice, just a saying, symbolic for food. Just like bread for the American or European people. But such a queen like Marie Antoinette, perhaps she has never suffered from hunger and cold. She has perhaps never had to walk on uneven road, or to go outside and have even a look at the ordinary life of the citizens. And wherever she goes, the people run away or have to be covered, and she has been protected with all the bodyguards. She would never see anything. She never see the life of the people. Perhaps she has not been a very cold-hearted queen, but because her life has been surrounded by too much protection, too many lies, and too much luxury unnecessarily. Therefore, sometimes the king and the queen don't even know what they're doing. It is very difficult. And no wonder people always make the revolutionary and king and queen, they chop them down just to change the rule, to change the dictation so that the people's life will become more bearable. Because in the old time you can't talk to the king, huh? You can't tell him he's wrong. Today you still cannot, but with some president you can, huh? At least it's more free than before. Well, it's a little bit different. Before, you cannot speak anything against the king or the government. You just do what they tell you to do. When people can speak it out, they feel, oh, I'm free, at least I can say it, let, I would say, clear the air, something like that. So even if they have to work, they don't feel that they are so suppressed.